Welcome to the Daily Objective. It's the Thursday Collective, and today we have the usual guests. We have Jax, we have Mark, we have Paul, but also we have a special guest, Kirk Wilcox. So if you watched the season recap of 21 and 22, we had the Objectivist Awards. Kirk, both years, he won my award of Best Objectivist on Twitter. In 2021, he was tied in the first place with Don Watkins. 2022, the throne was his. So I think first appearance at the Daily Objective. So great to have you, Kirk. So the way this works is each one of us brings a topic on the table and gets the thoughts of the panel. So I will begin with a tweet that became viral this week. It's a tweet, I don't know, if you can see it on the thumbnail, it's a tweet by Rollo Tomassi. So who is Rollo Tomassi? Rollo Tomassi, aka the rational male, is one of the godfathers of the manosphere, one of the godfathers of the so-called red pill. So he's someone who has written the, how do you call it, trilogy, but not with three, with four parts, four-logy, the rational male books, and he's also quite popular on Twitter and on YouTube. So he wrote a tweet where he came up with one of these lists. And the list is about the quickest path to becoming a high-value man. And he gives 8 points. Number 1, do not get married. Number 2, avoid family creation. Number 3, vasectomy in your 20s. Number 4, lift consistently. Number 5, eliminate all sedations. Number 6, learn game and networking. Number 7, play to your strength, build wealth. Number 8, resist easing up on your focus. So this got millions of... actually, we can see it. Okay, that's great. This actually got millions of impressions on Twitter and created a huge backlash. So why I found it interesting? I find the list itself interesting, but also I found interesting the reaction to the list. So both the list and the reaction to the list can tell us a few things. So my first fast comment. So in reverse order, I haven't got any issue with the 8, 7. Yeah, play to your strength, resist easing up on your focus, eliminate sedation, definitely lift consistently, learn game and networking, where it depends what we mean by game. I think we had a whole episode, should men learn, quote, game. If by game we mean, learn some social skills, be likable, don't be a dork, then by all means, I think that game makes sense. But let's go to the controversial ones. Do not get married, avoid family creation, have a vasectomy. Now, from what I know about Rollo Tomassi, I've read 3 of the 4 books. Don't ask me why or how. If you read my Troublist book, you should know. And the focus here is mostly that it's too dangerous to get involved these days in marriage, or even to get too much involved with the opposite sex. This is why Rollo Tomassi is a highly esteemed figure in the MGTOW movement, the men going their own way. So the do not get married and avoid family creation, it means that you're going to be crushed in a divorce court. The idea is that we live in a gynocentric society, and also the idea is that men are at risk, and therefore they should do all these things to keep themselves at arm's length from gynecocracy and the female superior society. So I'll do my comments last. Who goes first? Actually, let's go clockwise from how I see it. So we start with Kirk.
Oh, so I'm going first. All right. First off, thanks for having me on. I feel like a lot of pressure on, because last week you guys had James Valiant on, and I feel like those are some pretty big shoes to fill. But what interested me, I mean, there's a lot to say about this, but, you mentioned the responses. I noticed some of the replies, one of which was from Lauren Chen, who is this popular conservative commentator. Her response to this was, your bloodline is weak and ends with you. And I'm thinking, who is this? Tywin Lannister? Like, where did this get Tywin Lannister, huh? This kind of thinking. And another popular response has over 2,000 likes on Twitter, says the quickest path to a poorly attended funeral. And I'm like, who cares? Like whether or not your funeral is attended. I don't know about you guys. I don't really care because I will not be there to enjoy my own funeral. But there's a lot to say about this. But I think it's also worth noting that some of the reactions, like if like you're all about starting a family and whatnot, some of the arguments against this, I think, are also really terrible.
Okay, so we're more or less on the same line that both the tweet itself and the reactions to it are both off. Let's hear also from Paul. So Paul.
Nikos, can I beg you to let me go last? Because I kind of want to homestead on this one for a while and I don't want to interrupt other people.
Okay, homestead it is. So then clockwise we go to Jax and then Mark and then me and then Paul.
Well, okay. So I think this is interesting because the tweet itself, especially numbers 1 through 3, were meant to get a rise, if you'll pardon the pun, out of people. He does. I mean, I would take it seriously if it weren't for the fact that Rollo Tomasi hasn't been married for 25 years and has a child. Or I think children, more than one child. Also, I'm just going to take offense on behalf of LA Confidential that he stole his name from the character of he who gets away with everything. But whatever. I have a hard time taking him seriously. I haven't read any of his books. I was about to listen to his latest book because that's what he's plugging with this tweet. He's plugging his latest book that is that's coming out, part of the part 4 or 5 of the Rational Male series. I did a bit of research on him. He claims to incorporate objectivism into his
actually I found out about him from someone who back in the day used to call himself an objectivist. Then he turned to a racial realist Trump supporter. But yes, Rollo Tomasi has name dropped Ayn Rand, but also he's big on evolutionary psychology.
Yeah.
So not big on free will, I guess, but
yeah. Well, and he also makes lots of assumptions about who men are inherently as well as what women are inherently. So lots of premises, is that the plural? Premises that need to be checked. And I don't have much else to say. I want to give the rest of the panel a chance to say something. I will say Rollo Tomasi and even Ben Shapiro with his tweet as well. I see your tweets about a high value man, and I give you, can you guys see this? That's what I give you in response to that is, there we go. Philosophy, Who Needs It by Ayn Rand. I actually, this is the answer. This is the answer to a high value man and a high value person, because what these people I think are all lacking is an actual philosophy, a consistent 5-part philosophy. But let's see what everybody else has to say about it.
Mark. Did anyone ask high value man value to whom exactly?
Right. High value to, women in their 20s.
The idea in the manosphere is that there's something objective in masculinity, that it's almost like a force of nature that throughout the ages and throughout times, there are some characteristics that are always the ones that define someone who is good at being a man, like someone who wrote, someone else in the wider milieu who wrote The Way of Men, Jack Donovan, he called it, it's a different being a good man, and it's a different being good at being a man. And being good at being a man, he says, it's morally neutral. You have to be strength, courage, and mastery and honor are the 4 virtues. And these virtues, it doesn't matter if you're a mafia person or you are a virtuous, Randian hero. These are the things that make a good man in any culture at any time. So there's almost something objective in masculinity.
Those virtues also make a good woman, so I don't think they're exclusive to men.
I was thinking.
I don't think any man should do something potentially irreversible to his physiology in his 20s, because because you know very little about the world in your 20s, and your values will likely change. Plus, I'm not letting anybody touch my junk with a scalpel if I can help it, no matter what age, unless there's something terribly wrong going on down there. So the vasectomy can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. And he's got a point with respect to marriage. Marriage as an institution has been very corrupted by the legal system, and men put themselves at great financial risk when they get married. But I think if you choose wisely and rationally, there is nothing better for a man than being married to a good woman. And there is nothing more invigorating for his manhood across the entire spectrum of what we consider manhood than being with a good woman. In fact, being married promotes the long range vision of a man, which we all will acknowledge here is implicit in rational virtue, is the long range vision. So being married makes a man look farther into the future, and that makes him smarter. It makes him make better decisions. And I think the statistics bear out that, married men are wealthier, better off. They tend to be happier. I know we get all the tropes that, most marriages end in divorce and people are miserable and yada, 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 but it's also not the case too. So if you choose wisely, marriage could be a great, great institution for you. I think Rand was for it as well, right? For many, many reasons. So this guy just seems to be, a man with a small self-esteem, going for superficial values, and in a similar way to an Andrew Tate, but a little bit more intellectually bound than Andrew Tate.
They're kind of along the same lines. I think that they're both like in the manosphere, and we did a show on Andrew Tate a while back. He really does remind me a lot of him.
Yeah, yuck, gag.
Okay, so here's the thing. So there are many reasons to be, as you said, opposed to marriage as it is these days. You have to be very, very sure. You have to find the right. These are self-evident. Here's what I don't like in the list, and also I don't like in the manosphere. It almost gives you an energy of be afraid of life. This is not like, hey, you know what? Beware that there are these traps on the way. More and more I see in the manosphere this like culture of fear, as my early mentor Frank Furedi called it, that it's dangerous out there and be very careful because you're going to be screwed up. And this is also a message that I see in what, ironically, many people call, including in the manosphere, victim feminism, that it tells women, be careful because you're constantly you're at risk of being a victim. And we see the same thing with the manosphere. It's like, be careful, there's too much danger. And again, it's one thing to tell people, beware that things might turn ugly in the divorce procedure, all that stuff. But this is almost an existential view that tells you it's a jungle out there and you're going to be crushed. And here's a second comment. To use Rollo Tomas's famous line, he said something like, women want to sleep with men that other men look up to and other women want to sleep with. I butchered that, but anyway, to paraphrase. The problem is I don't see many people in the manosphere who are these people who other men would look up to. So if you see them on Twitter, not specifically Rollo Tomasi, but some other people, all the time it's like, oh, women do this, women do that. All they post print screens. Oh, look what women say on Reddit and all that stuff. Is this the vision of an alpha guy that he goes on Twitter and complains about women all day? This is as non-alpha as possible. But to move also the discussion, let me also comment on the reactions to that. So the reaction to this tweet was by many traditionalists and conservatives and tradcons and everything in between. It was, oh, this is too narcissistic. It's too individualistic. So they focused on the first three, don't get married, don't have children, have a vasectomy. And they thought that this is too individualistic. And what's going to happen to your duties as a man? But again, here's the thing, as I don't remember who in the group said, these things are good for whom? It might make sense for you to have a family. if it fits the context of your life, your values. Have you found the right person? Sometimes it's even an issue of, of luck. So why is it that I should have a family? I mean, it might be the best thing, it might not. So what is missing here in all this is the context on what is good for you. Like, do you know what you want in your life? There's a very good chance that getting married is a horrible idea. Going to church, synagogue, again, it's not clear to me how this would make you high value. It could not, or have kids. So so all this is, to use the party line and objectives lingo, to me all this sounds a bit rationalistic. Who's next?
Well, wait, before Paul jumps into this, I mean, Kirk stimulated something here for me, just like he stimulated something for you. A value to whom? It seems like this is second-handed too. It's all about
second-handed,
appearing to be a high-value person so that others value you in such a way that they desire you. Now, it's not about creating value. It's not about being more productive. It's not about being a better human being, and that would be individualistic. But that's not what this is. This is all about perceive me a certain way so that you want me, so you salivate over me. On those lines, Paul, let's hear what you have to say. If you can incorporate salivation in there, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm definitely salivating right now. So I want to start out by pointing out that I haven't heard of Rollo before, but on the other hand, he hasn't heard of me. I'm looking at his number 1, which is do not get married, and his number 3, which is vasectomy in your 20s. And I'm thinking, why do you need number 2, which is avoid family creation? If you're not getting married, and if you've got that vasectomy, where's that family coming from? Are you accidentally adopting people? Do you have that kind of magnetic attractiveness to orphans? What the hell's going on? The one point I want to specifically address of his is the vasectomy in your 20s. Why wait? I think a real man does it around 13 or 12, and that's when you need to snip. And I think a man should get snipped on an annual basis. I think there's not enough snippage in our society. There's a lot of things one could do with a male member, but snipping it is perhaps the most important. So I looked at these lists and I thought, boy, am I unimpressed. And I thought, I don't even want to talk about this, but I want to talk about what is implied by it, which to me is the question of what is a man? So I've taken the liberty of boring you guys by writing this down, and I'm going to have to read it because I don't have it memorized. So there's a couple of different points that I'm making. They're not directly related, but they're my answers to the question of what is a man. So start with quote. A human being should be able to change a diaper, plan an invasion, butcher a hog, con a ship, design a building, write a sonnet, balance accounts, build a wall, set a bone, comfort the dying, take orders, give orders, cooperate, act alone, solve equations, analyze a new problem, pitch manure, program a computer, cook a tasty meal, fight efficiently, die gallantly. Specialization is for insects. So that's from Robert A. Heinlein, 1973, Time Enough for Love. And I look at that list and I think, I can't handle my Roku. Heinlein is talking more about human beings than about men specifically. And I like specialization and I like being an insect. But that's a pretty compelling picture of the self-sufficient human being. And there's a lot of me that's very attracted to that notion. Another quote, which is the most noble fate a man can endure is to place his own mortal body between his loved home and the war's desolation. That again was Heinlein in Starship Troopers. And I would change the ending to make it a little more general and say the most noble fate a man can endure is to place his own mortal body between those he loves and danger. If I'm trying to think of what a man is, I think a man protects the people he loves. By the way, almost everything I say applies to women as well, but not everything. But I didn't take the time to parse it out. In my opinion, a man takes responsibility for everything he does and everything he doesn't do. A man is a role model for boys. In The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, Jimmy Stewart is one kind of man, the kind who depends on law to create order and to protect people. John Wayne is another, the kind who relies on a rifle when the law isn't enough. They're both men. In the 1970s TV series Kung Fu, Kwai Chang Caine is a quiet and thoughtful and philosophical man who is kind and helpful and who really hates violence until the bad guys threaten innocent people and he has no choice but to kung fu the shit out of them. In The Crucible, John Proctor is a man. He will bend only so far. In A Man for All Seasons, Sir Thomas More is a man. He will bend only so far. In Play It Again, Sam, Humphrey Bogart becomes a man. Henry David Thoreau, in writing on the duty of civil disobedience, is a man. A man, or a real boy, is what Pinocchio wants to be. A man is what Peter Pan doesn't want to be. A man who's someone who doesn't participate in women's sports. Man is the animal who enjoys the Three Stooges. A man has integrity, courage, humor, and height. No one under 5'7" can be taken seriously as a man. And I want to conclude with this. In 7th grade, I read the play version of The Diary of Anne Frank. And for 25 months, I'm going to kill these names, Miep Gies and her husband Jan smuggled food to Anne Frank and the 7 others in hiding with her. Miep and her husband defied the Nazis and risked death. So when I think of what is a man, I think a man is someone, man or woman or boy or girl, who hides the Jews from the Nazis.
Yeah, baby.
Difficult to disagree with that, and particularly like what you said about strength to protect. I would put it a step further: strength to protect your values. That's why the example that comes to my mind is Sane, S-H-A-N-E. That book with this frontier man. He's not really a frontier man, but that guy. That book by I don't remember whom, although I've read it 3 times. Okay. So we spent 22 minutes on my topic, unless anyone has any other hot takes on Rollo's tweets.
Should we read the super chats on this topic?
Oh, yes, of course. I have them in front of me. So Robert says, of value to whom and for what? Indeed. Thank you very much, Marilyn. Is he avoiding deep connections, you're asking? It seems like he's avoiding them, although, again, he has, from what he says, a very loving relationship with his wife. His explanation would probably be, I'm red pill aware, and therefore I can navigate a relationship with a woman. You dorks are blue pill, and you would be in danger if you would be engaged with a woman. Justin says, most manosphere thinkers generalize their insights from women who go to nightclubs every night. Well, it looks like they haven't got much good women around in terms of their experience. This is true. Now, nothing against nightclubs, but you get the point. And one more. The point is specialization. The point of specialization. Thank you very much, adherents of Lady Columbia. Says the point is specialization is that one has a knowledge of higher value that attracts others of use. Otherwise, one is just general labor. So being good at what you do is indeed attractive, and it could be attractive within a general package. That was powerful, Paul, says Catherine. So thank you. Okay. We have the time that we spent for the first topic, we have for all the rest of the topics. No pressure. So, Kirk, what do you bring on the table?
Well, so it was reported a little over a week ago on CNBC by Keefe Leswig that Apple declares resounding victory after decision reached in Epic Games appeal. I guess the gaming company Epic Games sued Apple because they were booted off of the App Store for violating rules. I think the rules were basically, for those who don't know, Apple, they collect up to 30% of all sales that are done in apps. And I think this has been the standard ever since the iPhone came out. This is a controversial standard with Apple, and I guess Epic Games, they were setting up revenue streams that were getting around giving Apple their cut, and then Apple kicked them off the store, and then Epic Games sued them for antitrust violations. It was reported that the article says Epic sued Apple after the game company introduced its own payment system into Fortnite, which broke Apple's rules and ultimately got the company banned from the App Store. It culminated in a weeks-long trial 2 years ago in California, where Apple CEO Tim Cook and Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney testified. Monday's ruling in the Ninth Circuit Court affirmed the decision that primarily found Apple did not violate antitrust law by banning competing app marketplace on iPhones. The reason why I think this is good, because I think Apple's private property rights are being protected, even though it's probably for the wrong reasons. It's not saying, oh, Apple has private property rights and they should be able to decide who gets to be on their store for what terms and conditions. And Epic Games does not have some inalienable right to be in someone else's store. But it was because they were not found to be in violation of antitrust. And I think another potential downside to this, even though I think this is a good decision from what I can tell, is the more big tech companies like Apple win these antitrust lawsuits, it gives a lot of politicians a pretense to update current antitrust laws. This is a lot of rhetoric I've seen over the years, this notion that, oh, antitrust laws, they don't apply to today's world, or the courts are not interpreting them correctly. So therefore, we need new legislation, new regulations, especially in the realm of big tech. I think Senator Amy Klobuchar has been one of the has been leading the charge on a lot of this new legislation. And unfortunately, I think this is an area where Democrats and Republicans agree on shaking down big tech, reining in big tech. And anyways, that's my topic. And I guess I'm wondering what you guys think about this.
I have zero idea, and I had all these unknown words. I'll just say one thing. If a court case reminds me, the case in Atlas Shrugged, where I think it's Eugene Lawson, who asks something from Midas Mulligan, and Midas says no. And then he went to court and says, my rights are violated. I'm always with the Midas Mulligan in this case. It sounds to me like Apple are the good guys here. But again, I have zero knowledge. So I just wanted to make an Atlas Shrugged reference because why not? Jax, Paul, or Mark, any comment on the case?
I'm pro-trust. I think we need more trust. I think this whole antitrust is an anti-concept, which obviously we know and is not news. The notion that because you're more successful or bigger or provide a platform that you're thereby preventing other people from doing something. I believe in freedom of association and freedom of contract. So I would just look at their contract. If the contract says they can do what they did, they can do it. If it doesn't, they can't. And from what Kirk says, I'm on Apple's side in this one.
As am I. So the judges happen to rule in a subjective law for the right party, but that doesn't mean they won't spin the cylinder and the bullet won't land next time around. We all know as objectivists that antitrust law needs to be done away with, and just enforce contracts, man. That's all that really matters. Enforce contracts.
Yep, I completely agree. I keep waiting for the moment. I keep waiting for the Howard Rourke or the Hank Rearden moment when a man or a woman will stand up and tell the world that the entire thing is a sham, and why are you even bringing me to court to testify in the first place? But yeah, a little. It's a little win, I think, but we'll take it. We'll take any kind of win we can get in terms of trust and antitrust. And I agree with Paul. We just need to trust each other more.
Before we go to the next topic, let me acknowledge Adherent. Thank you so much. This is one of the biggest super chats I've ever seen. I really, really appreciate it. So you're saying, I can understand some elements of the red pill phenomenon origins. As someone who is under 30, dating is very much depressing as dating apps filter out average looking men and women from the market. This is then made worse by very small descriptions. So I don't know about the technicals, but let me tell you this one about the red pill. Some of it is fun reading. Some of it includes good advice, but I would only approach it from within the context that I currently have of objectivism. If I started, let's say, quote, tabula rasa, and all I would consume was red pill material, I don't know if I would be better off if I was to use their term like a blue pill, like I have zero idea what is happening. So some of the stuff you can get, again, good advice, particularly on your social skills. Even I would say you could get advice on presentation skills. It's not a coincidence that many pickup artists became later excellent salesmen or life coaches or motivational speakers. So it gets you far having the knowledge to be charismatic in a social situation. So in that case, I would say there is indeed some value in some of the material. But again, thank you so much for your very generous contribution. At some point in my channel, I'm thinking of doing like an unrehearsed, like 2 hours deep dive in everything I've ever read in the manosphere and what I think about that. But let's see. Okay, who brings topic on the table?
Well, I guess, you want to go with Jax or you want me?
Oh, you go ahead. I wasn't saying anything yet. So.
Keeping with this tech stuff, lawmakers on Wednesday introduced legislation to set age restrictions on social media. So they want to ban children younger than 13 from using social media platform and require parental consent for those between the ages of 13 and 17. Now, I've been a witness to the Lord of the Flies. It is social media. These kids that are under 13 and even between the ages of 13 and 17 are vicious, nearly criminal in their malignancy towards people they don't like. And they're savvy too. They come up with sock accounts and make their malicious streams seem like it's a flood of humanity attacking you. They're very violent people. And of course, indoctrinated by the state makes them extremely toxic and dangerous. And I've said on social media, hey man, if you're a teenager, get the fuck off this media. You don't belong here. But I do not think that parental responsibility should be deferred to legislatures. It's not up to the goddamn legislature to make a law that when the parents aren't taking responsibility for their own children. If your children are under 13, it's clearly a toxic medium for them. It's contributing to their mental health, which is their mental health decline, which is the reason they're claiming they need this legislation to improve children's mental health. Be a freaking dad and a mom and do not allow them to get on the social media platforms. Ban it yourself. Don't cede your moral agency to the legislature. It's unhealthy. And I don't think the mental decline of our youth is caused by social media. It's a symptom. That toxicity is a symptom of a philosophical vacuum in academia, in our education system, that is training our children to be emotionalists and to treat their emotions as what objectivists would call primaries, so that they think that's the truth. Their lived experience is the truth. They're taught not to discredit their reason. And as a result, they're untethered from reality. And why wouldn't you feel depressed and anxious when you're untethered from reality? And you think that your wild swings of emotional life are the truth that you're going to be dealing with for the rest of your life. So look, this is a parent's responsibility, not the legislature. Get the legislature out of this crap. Let parents handle their shit.
And I thought years ago, the courts already decided that social media companies could not have children under 14 because of the way social media works. You do have to agree to a contract, and often they do. Social media companies that we know are going to acquire your data. And I thought it was determined that children cannot consent to that, to having companies collect their data. So I'm not even sure this legislation is even necessary.
Most legislation isn't at this point, so I wouldn't be surprised.
I have no opinion except to say I'm so glad for social media today, but at the same time, I'm so glad there were no social media when I was growing up and when I was in school. Paul or Jax?
I teach screenwriting to graduate students and undergrads. And about 10 years ago, I remember being in a conversation with some of my students. We're talking about horror films. And several people over different classes had said that it was their parents who introduced the Texas Chainsaw Massacre to them. And I said, oh, at what age? And they'd say like 8, and they weren't joking. And I thought, so this is really horrifying to me, because I know that we get coarsened over time. And I know that what was horrifying in 1931 is no longer horrifying. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is, by the way, an excellent horror film, is the type of film that by definition you don't show to your 8-year-old kid unless you want to raise a serial killer as a child. And very few of my students turned out to be serial killers. I want to mention that. I think that's important. My feeling is the state has zero role in keeping people out of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and that the parents have 100% of the role, and they're failing abysmally if they don't keep their kids away from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I do not think that is fixable by law.
So I have some experience on this regard since I have a teenage daughter, and went through this experience with her. So her dad and I are divorced, but we co-parent pretty well. And we actually have her phone locked down such that she can't purchase an app unless we approve it. And it comes directly to, to one of our phones, and we have to look at it. So, and her dad and I are pretty technical. So we kind of have that as an advantage. She got in trouble a while back when she was 12 or 13, I think, because that's when she started on social media. And so what did we do? We banned her from social media. We banned her from having Instagram. That was the main thing that she was on. What did she do? Being the precocious child that she is, as well as resourceful, is she went to her friends who still had Instagram, downloaded her account onto it, logged in over and over, did all of her Instagram stuff, and thought her father and I were none the wiser, which we wouldn't have been, except for the fact that we're pretty technical, and I can go into her account and look at the security login and view the IP address and where she logged in. And so then we go and give her, now, Max, have you been doing anything you shouldn't be doing? It? No. Well, I'm giving you this one last chance, and then breaks down in tears. Okay. But the moral of the story here is that you can't ban them. As much as I'd like to, if they want to get on it, they're going to find a way to get on it. So we took a different route, which was, we can't ban it, but we're going to monitor the hell out of it. And if you get in trouble, you're losing your phone completely. Sure, you can go to your friends and you can download it, but you're going to be really upset. And that did happen a couple of times. She did lose her phone a few times. But also the rules were she can't have a fake account. She has to have only one account, and we both follow her. We both see everything that she posts. There have been a couple posts where I'm like, take that down, just take it down. It's like right on the edge. So as much as I fully agree, it is 100% the parent's responsibility. The government should not be legislating this in the least bit. Please, all it does is it really takes the burden of responsibility off of parents. When it's 100%, it's my job. It is my job to raise my child. It's not the government's, not the schools, period. We do have some super chats, I think, on the topic. Do you guys want me to read those?
Yeah, I do want to acknowledge also the previous one. Kirk, you want to say something?
Oh, I just want to add, this goes back to something I like to repeat. What about the children is the most cowardly yet most effective argument in American politics.
Agreed. Absolutely. What were you going to do, Nikos? Did you want me to read?
Let's go to super chats also, because we're running out of time.
Okay, so Ashley shrugged for 199. I think this is Kirk in response to your topic. The company needs to be, but company needs to be on Apple. Sarcasm. Needs, yes, needs, all capitals. Sarcasm intended. Equal to reality for £5. When would you say it is the right time to use the block button on social media? For children, you can try. Just see my point earlier. For children, you can try. So what do you guys think? When is the right time to use the block button on social media?
For adults, my rule is if you don't contribute anything at all, no, I don't acknowledge the comment. But if you are rude, threatening, or whatever, then I would consider it. I don't think I've blocked a single person. Or, I block bots and stuff. But I don't think I've blocked anyone. I've never had someone being rude or threatening or whatever. So Mark and Kirk, who are more active have more success on Twitter.
I don't know that I'd call what I do success. I have when somebody's snarky with me and arrogant, I do with them what I would do in the ring, which is beat them up for as long as possible before I let them go. And so I tend to get in these skirmishes with people that I probably shouldn't, but I think they're so arrogant I need to break their face a little bit before I just give up.
I'm more of a fan on Twitter of the mute button, where you give people who you don't care to hear from, they're still going to follow you. They're still going to see all your brilliant thoughts, but you're not going to see theirs. Win-win.
I love that. I love that. Gad Sad said something like that to somebody that he was muting. He's like, I'm still going to give you the benefit of my wisdom, but I won't have to see what you're saying. You're on mute.
Yeah, I only block stalkers, like actual stalkers, of which I don't have a lot.
Could you send them to me, Jax? Because
Yes,
I want to feel more
absolutely.
important.
All do you want some of my
Absolutely.
stalkers?
I'm sorry, what about hookers? What was that?
No.
Don't block hookers. Come on, what have hookers done?
Stalkers. You can have my stalkers.
No, thank you. I'm against stalkers.
Catherine Cassio for $4.99. Less government, more parental supervision. Yes, agreed. Mary Aline for $5. Government should have no involvement in mental health until and unless someone commits a crime. I agree with that 85%. I think that there might be certain other cases, such as I know that this might be controversial, but gun laws. If somebody has a massive history of mental disease, I don't think that they should be allowed to purchase a gun. And I don't think we need to wait for them to commit a crime to do that. I also think that there are a lot of homeless people who have mental disease who would be much better off somewhere else besides the streets. But that can be a whole different topic. So I'll leave it at that.
Let me say something to what Mark said, because on blocking, I return to that. I've noticed, though, Mark, that you said, metaphorically you beat them, but I've never seen you being rude. And I think that's important, particularly, most of these, like if someone is to say stupid things and they have like 32 followers, they probably don't have a lot going on for them. So they're not worth of the quote, Twitter beating. So I think it's important to be also at the level of, look, would I do this in real life? Like if someone was annoying me in a cafe, like I would leave. If he attacked me, physically, whatever, but I would so my rule is, if you wouldn't talk to someone like that in real life, don't talk to them like that on Twitter. And I think, Mark, for the record, that I think you are doing this. I think you are generous with people, even when they are annoying. So I think you undersold yourself.
Well, to the extent that I'm generous with them, it's because I'm speaking to an audience that isn't them. I don't think I'm going to convince them. I hope they're open to reason, but it's more the people, whomever is out there in the audience listening, who may be on the fence and somewhat convinced of the other person's perspective, that I'm trying to change. And sometimes that person with 32 followers says the exact right thing at the exact right time that needs to be addressed. But I've decided not to deal with people who have under 10,000 followers now. I won't answer any of those people. I'll just deal with the Nina Turners of the world. I don't know if you know Nina Turner, former.
Oh, of course. We've had the episodes based on her tweets.
She's an awful human being in many ways and needs to be fought on pretty much every tweet that she puts out there, which I do. I know I dog her, and sometimes she responds to me and I can tell she's getting upset. But if she has feelings, I'm not sure if she does.
Yeah, but again, I wouldn't make it personal because I don't know these people. So that's why
But they make it personal when they want to use the government to get into my life and steal shit from me. So I take that pretty personally. or when they attack me because I'm white or well off, or any of the other reasons they choose to pigeonhole me into a group that's worthy of being destroyed. I'm going to start punching people in the mouth, metaphorically, of course.
Right. Okay, that's a difficult dilemma and difficult discussion. Okay, I think we're out of time. So, Paul and Jax, have you got any topic that you're dying to put on the table?
Jax?
I have, actually, it's really quick. It's more a plug. And I'm going to put the link in the chat for Daniel to put in the chat. So this was an interview that I saw. I follow John Stossel on Instagram as well as YouTube. And John Stossel did a 30-minute interview with the lovely Gloria Alvarez, whom I met at OCON in 2020, and is an awesome and amazing person, is doing fantastic things for Latin America and spreading the gospel of capitalism and objectivism. Gloria Alvarez is running for president of Guatemala. And
Go, girl.
I highly recommend watching watching this interview with John Stossel. She has tremendous things to say. There's also a wonderful plot twist at the end. So I will just leave it at that. Go, Gloria, and just really, really happy to know this person and happy to see all the great things she's doing in Latin America.
Nice.
Indeed, power of nature, and I hope she overcomes the bureaucratic burdens she has. Actually, with Razi, we met Gloria a couple of weeks ago at Liberty Con, and she's also very, very popular also with the European freedom movement. Paul, any parting words?
No, I'm going to keep my powder dry for next time. Thanks.
Good. Okay, so people, many thanks. Today we had a lot of super chats. A huge thank you to the contributors and a huge thank you to the viewers. Also, I mentioned we had Kirk. I hope we're going to have him back. Check out his channel. So at least in 2 New Idea Live episodes that I've done in the last half a year or something, part of my prepping was to check Kirk's videos. I remember it was one about the Revolutionary Guards, the thugs in Iran, and also the one I did last week with Onkar on libertarian apologies for Putin. These were topics that Kirk did some shows. So check out his channel as you see his name there. Check him obviously on Twitter. Top 3 objectivist people on Twitter, and check out also his YouTube channel. Not only good videos, but also good production value. He has videos playing on the background. He's commenting live on the videos. So worth following. Kirk, you are the guest of honor. You're going to have the last words.
Oh, thank you. It's funny you bring that up because I don't know if you remember this, but when I was making the video on Iran, I messaged you on Twitter because you were talking a lot about it. And I said, where are some good resources? And one of the books you recommended, I ended up using in the video. So so thank you for that. And thank you guys for having me on. I'm a big fan of this channel. I've been listening for years. You guys have all had a lot of great discussions and really glad to be finally part of one of these panels. And thanks for having me on.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Kirk. Last minute super chat. Thank you very much, Gail. We really appreciate your contributions. So no upcoming shows today. The Daily Objective is back tomorrow. The Collective is back next Thursday. Many thanks to everyone who's here. Many thanks to the viewers. All the best.